The Rams are Super Bowl champions. Did they get lucky by 1 year? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Travis Rogers. You can see it right on that screen if you are looking at us on our Locked On Rams YouTube page, which you should absolutely subscribe to. If you are more of just a listen to it sort of person, make sure you click that subscribe button on your podcast feed. It might be a bookmark, it might be a plus, it might be a check. Just make sure that you do that so you get your Locked On Rams content every single day. Not only do I do this, but I also host the Rams pre-half and post-game show on their flagship station, ESPN 710. So if you are in and around Los Angeles on a Rams game day, we start about 2 hours before kickoff on that. It's a good way to get you caught up and get you ready for all things Rams. And then immediately after, we break down everything that happened on your Sunday, your Monday, or occasionally on a Thursday night. Thanks again to our partner, PrizePicks, right? Today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com/Locked On. Promo code Locked On. Make sure that you get that as well. Okay, up on the pod today, Jalen Ramsey says, you know what? The Rams are going to be okay. So we'll get into that, whether or not I agree with him. Find out here in just a few minutes. Plus, the Rams and the trade deadline have been very, very successful partners over the last few years. Is this year a little different considering where the Rams are in the standings and what they've looked like through the first 6 weeks of the season? That's coming up before too long as well. But let's start right here with, did the Rams time something absolutely perfectly? The Rams made a huge deal last year, right before the season, to go and get Matthew Stafford as their quarterback. They made a decision that, you know what, we've got a really special team. We've got a very good team, but our quarterback is not going to be the guy to get us over the hump. We need to be a little bit better, or maybe a lot better, at the most important position on the field. Jared Goff ain't it. Let's go and find somebody. Matthew Stafford is available. Matthew Stafford, we think, is going to be that guy. Let's take a big swing and send a couple of draft picks to Detroit. In exchange, we'll send Jared Goff out, and let's give it a shot. We all know how it played out. We know that the Rams, in their first season with Matthew Stafford, they won the Super Bowl in large part because Matthew Stafford was awesome in the playoffs. Now, look, there was some of the Matthew Stafford that we saw in Detroit during the regular season. We had the month of November where he was throwing pick sixes at a rate that I think had a lot of Rams fans a little concerned, myself included. But when it mattered most, he was at his best, right? The Sean McVay, be at your best when your best is required. Well, that certainly was Matthew Stafford last season in the postseason. They don't win in Tampa without him. They probably would beat Arizona without him. So we'll skip that one. San Francisco, he leads a fourth quarter comeback. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl, that final drive, he and Cooper Kupp are amazing together. The no-look pass, the fade in the corner, just everything about it was terrific. Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl champion, and the price that you had to pay, while incredibly high, more than worth it. Right? That's how you feel. It's how I feel. I think that's how most Rams fans feel. And I think people in Denver are feeling right now. How do you think people are feeling about the Russell Wilson acquisition, that the decision to pay him a fortune, the decision to send out multiple high draft picks to go and get a guy that looks like a guy that you don't want to play quarterback for your team? Russell Wilson, and if you've heard me on the radio, if you've heard me here on this podcast for any period of time, you know that there's two things about Russell Wilson that I've said a million times. I don't like him. I think he's inauthentic. I think he's a fugazi, in the words of Donnie Brasco. I also think he was an unbelievably good quarterback. that he was the guy that when the Rams would go up against Seattle made me really worried. It wasn't Richard Sherman. It wasn't necessarily Bobby Wagner or Van Chancellor or any of those great players that they had, Earl Thomas. They were great. It was Russell Wilson because he was the guy that you never got to hit him. He would slide. He would run out of bounds. He would find a guy open. He would extend the play with his legs. He was a really terrifying guy. And so Denver's thinking, hey, let's take a shot. If we get that Russell Wilson, we've got a great defense. We've got some playmakers on offense like Jerry Jeudy. Let's take a shot at it. Look at what the Rams just did when they just basically took one quarterback out, dropped another quarterback in. They won the Super Bowl. Let's go give that a shot. How's it working in Denver? Not good. Russell Wilson looks washed. Not only is he not the guy who was in Seattle a few years ago, he might be bad. And, we'll see. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe there's learning the system. Maybe there's this, that, and the other thing. All I know is Seattle looks a lot better without him, and Denver looks a lot worse with him, which brings us back to the Rams. Did they just time it exactly right? Did they? Because Matthew Stafford is not a young player. He's not an old player, but he's not. Look, had he shown up and just been the drop from Russell Wilson in Seattle to Denver, if you would have gotten a similar drop from Matthew Stafford in Detroit to LA, are they in the Super Bowl? No. He had to be maximum Matthew Stafford to win that Super Bowl, or it just doesn't happen. And year to year, Tom Brady, Tom Brady and LeBron James, these are guys that far surpassed any expectations as far as longevity goes. But it happens to everybody, right? It's happening to Tom Brady now. It's happening to Russell Wilson right now. It might be happening to Aaron Rodgers as we speak. The Rams might have timed it just right. Now, I hope that Matthew Stafford goes and leads the Rams to another playoff run this year. Maybe they make another run to the Super Bowl this year or down the road or in the next 3 or 4 years or however much longer he's going to be here. But at least it popped. At least it happened. At least they got the one when you had to have it, because you typically don't get better as you get older, right? The Broncos are experiencing that. Every time I see the Broncos, I'm like, thank goodness the Rams got the season out of Matthew Stafford that they got a year ago. They have a Lombardi trophy in their facility. They are Super Bowl champions 2021. No one can ever take it away. Got to see it at SoFi Stadium at home, everything that goes along with it. Whatever comes next is coming next. Nobody knows exactly, but you got that done. The price you paid was high, and it was worth every single penny and every single draft pick. They may have dodged a bullet, and thank goodness that they did. Okay, coming up next. Do the Rams stay aggressive at that trade deadline, or because they're 3-3, do you have to think twice? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. So we've all got those milestone moments in our lives, right? I recently celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary. Yay me, right? You may have something coming up around the corner. You want to celebrate something. You want to make a moment special. Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. As the original online jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Nile has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. You get to pick it out exactly the way that you want it. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft her perfect one-of-a-kind engagement ring. If you're looking for a piece of fine jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but you don't quite know what to choose, they have jewelry experts on hand 24/7 at Blue Nile to make sure that you get something that you love, that she loves, that everybody's going to be absolutely thrilled with. They're available by phone or chat to help you find the memorable gift at every budget. Shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. You wouldn't want to spoil that surprise, right? And they can get it to you overnight if you are in a hurry, right? Here's how you do it. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com. Use the code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com/LockedOn. Thanks again for making Locked On Rams your first listen every day. Make sure you check out NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Local Locked On experts giving you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games in the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus Betting advice from the field's leading experts, BetOnline. Follow key NFL predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so the NFL trade deadline is a little bit less than 2 weeks away. It's coming up on November 1st, and the Rams have been really good friends with the trade deadline over the last several years and have used it to their advantage. I would argue better than just about any team in the NFL. In fact, let me take that back. Not just about better than anybody in the NFL, better than anybody in the league. Because, look, baseball, you think trade deadline, players move all over the place. Basketball, trade deadline, players move all over the place. In football, it's really not like that. You might get one or two a year, but there isn't this unbelievable movement of players at the deadline. Unless, of course, you are a fan of the Rams, and then they move all over the place. And this is just going from memory. But here are the players that they've gone out and acquired via trade over the last several seasons. Jalen Ramsey was acquired by trade, right? How's that worked out for the Rams? Unbelievably well. Staying in Jacksonville for a second, they went out and got Dante Fowler with a trade. This was a guy that was a very high-round draft pick that really had not had the impact that the Jags were hoping. He comes to L.A., he tears it up. It was a perfect acquisition at the perfect time. He was a very essential part of what they were doing on defense. Let's just go back to last year, right? Think about it. Von Miller comes in a trade, Super Bowl champs. Odell Beckham Jr., they go out and get him, Super Bowl champs. And not just that they were on there and they had the Rams uniform on, they were vital pieces to what they got done to go win that Super Bowl championship. Those Rams teams, the ones that we're talking about last year and previous years, Ramsey and Fowler and whatnot, were good teams. They were teams that felt like, we need a little bit something extra to maybe push us over the top. And they were very aggressive. The less need, F them picks ethos that's about, hey, look, we're trying to win now. We will worry about first-round draft picks later. We're trying to get this done now. Let's make a move to get it done. And it's paid off incredibly handsomely, right? There's a Lombardi trophy in their building. What more could you ask for? So with the deadline coming up and the Rams having a lot of problems, the Rams having personnel challenges that they really haven't had to have over the last several seasons, how do they approach it this year? Because you hear names, and there are big names, none bigger than Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey from Carolina is a guy that I think every team in the league would like to have, especially if you could somehow wrap your head around the fact that he's been healthy and you expect him to be healthy. He's a really good football player. Where do the Rams have a hole? At running back. What do the Rams like to do? They like to throw the ball to their running backs. Who's really good out of the backfield as a running back? Fits together really well, right? The Rams need help on the offensive line. Maybe a little less sexy, but no less important. The Rams need help on their pass rush. There's another Carolina Panther player that would fit in really, really well there as well. Other than Aaron Donald, they're not getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback. So there are holes. The question becomes, are you good enough to take advantage of it? Is the risk worth the potential reward? Is Christian McCaffrey a great player? Sure he is. Are the Rams a Christian McCaffrey away from making another run to the Super Bowl? This is the question that Les Snead and Sean McVay have to be asking themselves. This is when, and again, this is why I think Sean McVay is a special guy. This is why I think he's one of the best coaches in this league. This is why I think he may be one of the best coaches this league has ever seen by the time it's all said and done. Can you be honest with yourself? Can you self-evaluate to the point where you can say, you know what, let's go for it. Let's go for it with Matthew Stafford, that he got on the phone. Granted, he had a few tequilas or whatever, but yeah, let's give this a shot, okay? And they went for it, and it happened, and he was right. They were Jalen Ramsey made them a much better football team. They were pieces away here and there. I don't know if the Rams get a running back like McCaffrey, if all of a sudden they're right back in that Super Bowl mix. Now, you could tell yourself, nobody in the NFC is in the Super Bowl mix, and you just need to get there, and then anything can happen. That if are they better than the Bills, better than the Chiefs without him? I don't know. Would a running back like Christian McCaffrey change things to the point where that you're winning games even with a bad offensive line the way they have it right now? I don't know. These are the conversations that they have to have and be as honest with themselves, because as I see it, I don't know if this is a player away. I don't know if this is two players away. This team is not the last year's team. This year's team is not what we've seen for the vast majority of Sean McVay's tenure. this team feels like it's missing more than one thing. Now, maybe it's injury. Maybe it's just they need to get healthy, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just not quite good enough. Do you really want to spend a first-round draft pick and send assets out, maybe 2 first-round draft picks and send assets out? Or do you want to say, listen, let's get healthy. Darrell Henderson will be good enough. Kyren Williams is a guy that we can rely on and give him a shot. Let's not dig the hole deeper for a very, very small chance to maybe get over the top again. Last year, it wasn't a small chance to get over the top. Jalen Ramsey was not a player that's just, 1 in 100. No. He's an essential part of what you're doing. He's the best player at his position. Christian McCaffrey's in that conversation, but I don't know if he's that guy. I think you have to have a very honest and difficult conversation with yourself if you're Rams front office, if you're the Rams coaching staff. How good are we? At our best, how good are we? Are we good enough to win a Super Bowl again? Would Christian McCaffrey make us that good again? I think that's the question you have to answer yourself. And for me, the answer is no. That he's not the difference between you going back to the Super Bowl or not. If you're going to get there, a lot of things have to get better, not just one thing. Let's hope that a lot of things happen and you don't have to dig that hole in your draft equity even deeper than it already is. All right, coming up next, Jalen Ramsey says, you know what? We're not in a bad spot after all. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. So we talk a lot about football on this podcast, obviously, right? It's a Los Angeles Rams themed podcast, but what's so important about your football team? You got to play defense, right? They've got one of the best defenses in the league, and that's why they're still hanging around. Defense is incredibly important, which brings us to why SimpliSafe is so important for your home, right? SimpliSafe home security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters, that you got to make sure that you got that defense at home. That SimpliSafe is about protecting the things that are most important to you, your family, your possessions, your home, all of these things. And knowing that you have a support of something like SimpliSafe, it's amazing because of the advanced technology that SimpliSafe offers, whether it's controlling your system from your phone with an app, watching the crystal clear live HD stream of your security cameras so you can see what's going on even when you're not there, or a wide variety of high-tech sensors. It is an unbelievable feeling to know that your home is well protected like that the most important things in your life, your family, are well protected like that. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan, and you'll get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Protect what matters most to you. Get on SimpliSafe. So how are you feeling about the Rams season so far? Do you like it? Do you love it? Are you terrified? Or you think it's a bust? Like, where are you? Because I've been through just about every single emotion there is to be so far in this season. Think about what they've gone through so far this season. Coming off of the Super Bowl championship, they opened the NFL season at home against a really good Buffalo team. They're dropping the banner. Everybody's hyped. And then, oh boy, what was that? They get absolutely stomped by the Buffalo Bills. It was a very disappointing open of the season. And then since then, it's been a little bit of an up and down. You win one, you start to talk yourself in. Okay, they're starting to figure some things out. And then they lose. And then they win another one. And you think, okay, they'll be all right. And then they lose again. And then they win against Carolina. And now here we are, 6 weeks into the season at 3-3. And it's kind of I think it's okay. They haven't beaten a good team, but they haven't lost to a bad team. So maybe they're kind of in the middle of the pack. To hear Jalen Ramsey say it, they're okay. They're in a pretty good spot, according to their All-Pro quote on his podcast. Even though the season hasn't gone as planned so far, we're really in a good spot as a team right now. We're 3-3, and in 2 weeks, when we come back to SoFi and play San Fran, we will be playing for the number 1 spot in the division, in essence, in the middle of the season, which is a good spot to be in for the time being. Not where we necessarily want to be, but a good spot to be in. That is a very optimistic way to look at it. Listen, we haven't played well. We have not been healthy. We have not been crisp. We have not been sharp, but we're coming off of our bye. We're going to get a little more healthy, and we got a chance to play the team that has been the ultimate thorn in our side. And we got a chance when we win that game. We're in first place in the division as we head into the second half. And by the way, it doesn't really matter what. Look, let me ask you this: what did the Rams look like last September and October? Do you remember? I mean, it was good, right? But can you remember the specifics of it? You just know that they're playing pretty good football. Were they playing good football in November? Nope. Didn't win a single game. Were they good in December? They sure were. And they took off, and we know how it ends. The beginning of the season is not the season. The beginning of the season is, okay, let's see what we need to work on. Let's see what we need to get better at. And let's see if we can get lucky with our health and move forward. And that's what I think Ramsey's getting at. Look, this is not the end of the line. We're going to get healthier. Brian Allen's coming back. Brown is coming back. You've got these guys that are on their way back. You got Van Jefferson coming back. Let's wait and see when we have all of our pieces. Let's wait and see when, even though we've got a bunch of third and fourth string offensive linemen going, let's give them a couple of weeks to practice and gel and come together before we decide that this is a busted season or not. I think it's fair. I think it's also fair that it may be a busted season. They have not played well for anything more than a drive or two here or there, a quarter here or there. They're going to need to play well. We're going to know a lot about this team after San Francisco. When they play the Niners in week 8, we'll know whether or not this team is good. And I don't mean like they might make the playoffs good. I really think that looking at the NFC, something unusual would have to happen for the Rams to miss. Not impossible, but unusual. I think 9 wins get you in. I think I can find 6 more wins in the last 11 games. That's basically 500 football. The Rams are going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. You grab 1 or 2 more along the way, and you're in a pretty good spot. If San Francisco comes out and does exactly what they've done to you time after time after time, if the offensive line looks terrible again and again and again, then, it's probably not a deep run into the playoffs. I think even if they get stomped by San Francisco, and they might, I still think they make the playoffs, but I think that there are a bunch of questions after that maybe have positive answers. But if they get just run over after having 2 weeks to get ready and being at home and having a chance to get as healthy as you've been really all season long, I think the writing will be on the wall. I'm happy Jalen Ramsey's optimistic. I'm a little less optimistic than he is, but he makes a good point. What it looks like in September and October, who really cares? It's what it looks like as you get closer to December and then certainly in the early part of January. I like that he's positive. I'm going to try to stay positive too. You should try to stay positive as well. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson giving you the expert NFL analysis that you need in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.